Live and online, it's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, it is Sleepless with Steve. We are live and in living color on YouTube on this Wednesday evening. Coming off a very good Labor Day weekend myself. Hope these two gents can say the same. We will find out soon enough their thoughts on their Labor Day weekends. But yes, we are now somehow already September 7th. It feels like September 1st just a day ago or so. We are already in the month of September. It is kind of now, not many people want to look at it like this. I'm going to scare you guys for a second, okay, with 2 points. It is essentially now a 4-month march to the holidays. That's pretty much what it is now at this point. Or a 4-month march to Dom's wedding, depending on how you want to look at this. That's number one. Number two, we are 4 months away from 2020 being 3 years ago.
It's insane. Jesus Christ.
You're going to have to go to bed with that. You're going to have to go to bed with that thought in your mind tonight.
What felt like
the pandemic.
I was going to say, what felt like 3 years long is now going to be 3 years away.
It felt like 4 years ago that I was sitting in the station watching the election just burst into flames on election night in 2016. Yeah, you were.
I was there. Yes, time marches on, as Tracy Lawrence once said. But we are back and better than ever. And we have got two big things to talk about today. And you know what? If you squint hard enough, they kind of go hand in hand. We are reviewing Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul, the brand new movie by Adama Ebo, starring Sterling K. Brown and Regina Hall. I'm looking forward to talking about this movie. I was very happy that I got to see it in theaters this weekend. I saw it back at Sundance in January. I would have watched it on Peacock had I had no other option, but I was back home with Dad this weekend. They had it in theaters. I was very happy I could go see this movie on National Cinema Day. And we're talking about our old buddy Dan Schneider, who's back in the news too. I'd like to say we were one of the first. To really talk about this, but that is patently false because none of us did as well a job as Kate Taylor of Business Insider. So this big piece right here, this big beauty right here, took a lot of ink to print this damn thing, let me tell you, but it was well worth it. This Business Insider piece that we will dive into about Dan Schneider, and it is a capital D doozy. We will touch on that in due time. In the meantime, Joe, second to you. How was your Labor Day?
I completely forgot it was Wednesday. I thought it was Tuesday today. I was at the gym, and my watch went off, and it's like Sleepless in 30 minutes. So I'm like, the fuck? I'm like, it's Wednesday. And I'm like doing fucking barbell pull-ups and shit, and I'm like, oh shit, no, it is Wednesday. And I like dropped the weight and just like scurry over to my locker and grab my bag and head over and get the show ready.
Sleepless over gains. Remember that.
Steve over my gains, man. Married to the movies, indeed.
But your Labor Day was decent?
Yeah. I mean, like, it was just very nice. I mean, I was on vacation, like I said last show. So it was just nice to get another, like, 3-day weekend. Because when you come back from vacation, you're kind of in that, like, stasis of, I just got off of, like, you know, relaxing and everything. I have to go right back into the fire of whatever the hell's happening at work. And it's like, you know, you might still need to unpack. You might have chores to do at home that you didn't get around to doing. So it was just nice to have, like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday even to just catch up on stuff I didn't get to yet, which was, you know, very nice to have.
That's good. Good to hear on that, though. I totally know what you mean, though, man. You come back to, like, the hellfire of work, and it's like I still got stuff to unpack. I got 2 cats that destroyed the house when I'm gone, so I have to clean and all of that good stuff. I know it. I lived it about a month ago when I got back from my own vacation. Dom, how about you? How's your Labor Day?
This was my first Labor Day that I had off in, like, 5 years. Not lying, because I've always worked it. And, yeah, it was nice. Got to spend it with family. Funny enough, equally as tiring, but in a good way, as opposed to work. I am introverted, not in the sense that I don't like talking to people, but in the sense that it takes a lot of energy for me to to interact with others. Not that I don't enjoy it. I'm just saying that it just takes a lot out of me, like a car consumes gas, and that eventually I do hit a stopping point. As opposed to an extrovert, where they're self-sustaining. They're like a fusion reactor. You just go all night. But it was good. It was good. Got some good food. Had like 3 burgers, home cooked burgers, and some potato salad. My cousin Ann, she is a potato salad connoisseur, macaroni salad connoisseur, sommelier. We were joking. So yeah, I just got to enjoy a nice classic Labor Day.
Yeah, we did charcuterie
home.
boards, me and my Italian family, on Sunday. Like, we all just made our own board.
Nice.
Like, one person made a veggie one person made the meats one. It was really cool.
How do you say it?
Charcuterie, or charcuterie. I don't know.
How do you say it, Steve?
Charcuterie. You got to say it like a pissed off Frenchman. That's how you say it.
Oh, I could say charcuterie.
Charcuterie.
A lot of people. Here's the thing. A lot of people say charcuterie. A lot of people say charcuterie. That in the Americanized way of saying it. But I remember watching. I don't remember what the hell it was. I don't know if it was a talk show or what. But there was a French woman on there, and she was. It might have been the Dick Cavett show. Actually,
Oh,
it might have been the Dick Cavett show from like the '70s. And there's a French actress on there, and she goes. You Americans say it too nice. You need to say it with the venom of the French. Charcuterie.
Venom of the French.
So that's what she said. I think now the more I think about it, I think it was the Dick Cavett show. But yeah, so I say charcuterie. I try to be, because French is a very you gotta have a little bit of bite when you say those words. I'll put it nicely. But that was a fun discourse. Yeah, I hung out at home with Dad a little bit, and then Sunday night, his best friend came over, my best friend came over, and we were sucking down Twisted Teas and Coors Lights by the fire,
Nice.
as you do on Labor Day Eve. That's what we were doing on Sunday night, and then drove back to good old Eastern Iowa on Monday morning, or on Monday afternoon rather. So we'll dive in though. We got 2 big topics here, and I want to hear the thoughts on this movie from these gentlemen very much. So. I'm going to try to take the approach of what I did with my Cha-Cha Real Smooth review, mainly because, again, like Cha-Cha Real Smooth, I saw Hung for Jesus Save Your Soul back at Sundance at the beginning of the year. And what was funny to me, I'm just going to say this outright, this movie coming out. Just people were like, have you seen this? What are you seeing? And I said, I'm going to try to see Hung for Jesus. And I swear to God, it's because of the fact that I prioritize reviewing Christian movies. I'm seeing one on Friday, as a matter of fact. Is that people were asking me, they're like, is that like a God's Not Dead type of movie? Or is it like a satire? And at first I'm like, well, if you saw the trailer, you would have at least made the connection of like the Righteous Gemstones. That's, I think, the obvious connective tissue point here is the Righteous Gemstones. It's very similar. I really liked that show, actually. It's one of the few shows I've honestly watched. But because I love this sort of sector of entertainment. But if you just look at maybe the poster and you just kind of see like, the title and everything, maybe you think that this is not one of those contemporary Christian movies whatsoever. One of the ones that I like to read, like, or review and watch, like God's Not Dead or Do You Believe, or those types of movies. Starring Sterling K. Brown and Regina Hall as Pastor Lee Curtis Childs and Trinity as well, respectively. They run a mega church known as Wander to Greater Pastures. And at one point, it had a congregation of over 25,000. Well, after some allegations and public scrutiny on Lee Curtis's part, the church is rendered closed. The movie, essentially, it's a little tough to explain. It's actually kind of based off the Eddie Long scandal that took place in Georgia a few years ago. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's sort of loosely based on the Eddie Long scandal. I'd look into that on your own time if you haven't heard that, because that's fascinating. But moreover, at the end of the day, it's essentially a mockumentary style, because Lee Curtis and his wife Trinity are trying to reopen Wander to Greater Pastures, the mega church, on Easter Sunday, and they're trying a documentary showing them as like a saving face, good PR move, that they are changed people and they're not sinners and they're not like who the media has made them out to be over the last several months. There's a lot I could say about this. It has one of my favorite scenes, top 10 favorite scenes of the year. And that is the scene when Sterling K. Brown and Regina Hall rap along to Knuck If You Buck. That's one of my favorite scenes of the whole year in any movie. I love that song, and I love when they rap to it. That was great. But yeah, I could go a lot of different ways with this. But again, I've seen it. My reviews at stevepulaski.com. It's right on the homepage. So I'll mention a little bit about my thoughts too. But I really, like I said, I've had to wait 9 months before the masses could actually see and access this movie now. So now I'm really just curious and to hear how everybody's responding to it, like I was Cha Cha Real Smooth, and even the Yeezus documentary on Netflix. So I'll start with you, Joe. What are your thoughts, generally speaking, on Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul?
Well, first off, man, not even avoided like on purpose. It's just, I didn't really get to see a ton of the trailers. I just heard Jordan Peele was producing this, and it has Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown, and I was like, all right, cool, that's all I need to hear. I mean, from the title alone, I did think we were about to review another faith-based film when I saw it on the schedule, but then I read into it. I'm like, oh, okay, thank God. Let me say this: if you don't know anything about this movie, keep it that way, because it definitely has some pretty big turns as the movie goes along with one of the characters, to where by the end, I mean, I was like literally on the edge of my seat, like they were revealing some big bombshell. I still haven't watched the trailer. I don't know if it reveals what the whole scandal is that puts them in the place of making the documentary for their church on why, like, you know, they're opening up on Easter Sunday and everything. I haven't seen that, but I want to just first say, if you haven't seen any trailer for this and you have Peacock, or if it's playing by a theater near you, go in blind and have a good time, because that's what I did. I love mockumentary comedies like this. I love when they do this. It's like my favorite type of filmmaking. I loved on Netflix American Vandal, where like it literally follows the story of as Dom knows this actor, I can't remember him, Jimmy
Jimmy Tatro.
Yeah, Jimmy Tatro is being blamed for drawing dicks on teachers' cars, and just the whole time, like, they're taking it as serious as like they can, and it's done in like those like true crime documentary styles. And it's the same thing with us. It's not like true crime or anything, but it's done in a very much a mockumentary style. And it cuts back between that and just like, you know, actual like dramatic scenes, and it does it very good. Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown are really good together. I love watching those two on screen. I love how, like, at the beginning of the film, they're like so religious and everything. They're like talking about like, oh yeah, you know, Jesus and all this, but as like the movie goes along, they're swearing more, they're cursing, they're taking the Lord's name in vain, they're just forgetting like everything. They're just like, man, if we don't make that money come Sunday, we are fucked. And it's like, as the movie goes along, just seeing that pressure get to them was like one of my favorite aspects of it, and just seeing them slowly descent into madness, especially against like a rival church that is also opening on Easter Sunday. And then like they just have like a quick conversation with them, played by Nicole Barry and I cannot pronounce that guy's name, but they're on screen right now. They play.
Is it
Confidants?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my phone, and my phone's text is like very.
What
small.
a gimmicky name! Like, I'm sorry.
It might just be
God damn.
confidence, but like the way it's elongated, it makes me want to say confidants.
Yeah. They play the Sumters, who are their rival church. They're young and everything. They're about to take all their churchgoers, and yeah, man, there's just so many great scenes. There's just so many like interactions between other people within the city. Like there's one where Regina Hall runs into some woman at the mall, and it's like the most like, it's like what when you're with your mom at the store and she runs into that lady that she does not like, either at her work or within the neighborhood, and they just have that long awkward exchange of being nice to one another but really secretly just hating each other. There's like so many great things about the performances here and the way it's done in the mockumentary style, but I'll pass it off to Dom right now to share his thoughts.
It cannot be stated enough how important churches are in the Black community. Like, incredibly influential from the moment they were brought over as slaves all the way through American history. MLK is the most obvious one, but all throughout that, before and after, it cannot be stated enough. This is an important movie that, while not 100% based off of facts, It absolutely actually thank you, Steve, for bringing that up. I was in the back of my head, I was thinking like, I swear there was something like this. Yes, the Adelong Ministries scandal, and it was actually part of a larger investigation into like other churches and their tax exempt status. So like, hold on a second. I don't think much came from
underrated scandal though of its time.
Extremely underrated. Because sex sells, but tax exempt. Well, that's just the way the world works. Anyway, every year we get one, if we're lucky, two movies that really give us an insight into this world. Not necessarily historical, not like Judas and the Black Messiah or Trial of the Chicago 7. Great movies, very important, just as important. But every now and then we get something like this that that touches on something that we don't realize has much of an impact. Like, for instance, was it The Secretary? It was the movie where it's not about Harvey Weinstein, but it's about Harvey Weinstein, and he's not shown, and he's like a lingering monster. The Secretary? Was that what it's called? No,
yeah,
it was
we reviewed it. Yeah, I'll look it up. You keep going.
The one we reviewed, The Assistant?
The Assistant,
there we
not
go,
the
yeah.
Assistant. The Assistant.
The Assistant.
Yeah, I think the last year was The Assistant. The year before,
that was 2 years ago. That was 2020. The Assistant.
Oh, geez. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Bad Education, but that is based off a true story. But regardless, these movies are incredibly important. Just on a socio-political aspect, it's an incredible send-up, an incredible satire of this world, this thing that exists. I've seen a couple of preliminary reviews because I was just so interested, and they were like, man, it seems like these guys are playing too much into it. They're overacting. Bro, they are not overacting. They're underacting. People really are like this, not just in the Black ministry community, but just as someone who grew up Catholic, and thankfully all my priests were super boring. But dude, some of those youth pastors, some of those more into it pastors, they all go hard. They go all in. And just a hint of what is showcased in this movie. And then when you couple it with the wealth, with the power dynamics, this whole show, even after the movie that we're going to talk about, this whole show is going to be about power dynamics. It is fascinating. And yeah, dude, what the cast and crew did here, what Adama Ebo, if I'm saying that correctly, did with this movie is so fascinating.
I agree. It's a little nebulous too, because the posters are marketing this by like a film by the Ebo twins, but Adama is the credited writer and director. Right. Her sister Adane Edbo, they did, I believe, Adama and Adane, they directed and wrote the short film together, and then Adama assumed the writer and director roles for the movie, and Adane is just on as producer. I just feel like clarifying that because I feel like that was kind of a mess. Like some of the reviews I was reading, they didn't know how to assign credits.
I did see Ebo twins, so I was a little confused by that at first, but then I saw Wikipedia. Okay, I guess they get all the credit.
And also too, like I said, Joe brought it up too. It is worth noting that not only did Jordan Peele also produced this too, but Daniel Kaluuya produced this as well, and both Monkey Paw Productions and Daniel Kaluuya's 59% production.
I am so happy about that, because that it's really getting support from the Black filmmaking community. According to Wikipedia, despite making a paltry $2 million, I guess not bad considering how little it was marketed, how little it was this and that. I'm curious to see what the budget.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the budget was on this thing.
Yeah, I think it's technically a bomb, because I think it costs more to make.
It also depends on the I mean, it depends on how much, because I don't know how much NBC Universal paid for it out of Sundance. I don't know how much they paid for it. To acquire. I mean, and also too, we don't have the Peacock figures, to be fair, either. Yeah, we don't have the Peacock figures.
And moreover. According, just real quick, last thing is, according to Deadline Hollywood, over the Labor Day weekend, of all the people that saw it, among 1,800 theaters, 62% of the audience was female, 61% over the age of 35, and 50% was African American. 50% was African American, which makes sense, and that's good, because that is, it's an introspective look on this very peculiar part of African American culture.
Look at us in the minority for the demographics
Hey,
of this
you
thing.
know.
Just clean sweep. This thing, they missed the mark. They got left field, these three douchebags. Anyway, I like that. There's a lot that you could pull on from this movie, and obviously the satire is pretty biting. You know what I will say is that for a first time director, I think Adama Ebo really handles the visual look of this thing because there's like three technically different styles going on right here. When it is in a letterboxed format, the screen, when it's more in like a 4:3 aspect ratio, the film is assuming what is being filmed for the documentary.
Yeah.
When it goes back to 16:9, you get the more traditional widescreen presentation, which is even enhanced by the presence of black bars as well to kind of show you like this is the reality.
Yeah.
And then the third style, which I really like because for some reason I watch a lot of televangelists, is like the VHS prints of Lee Child's early sermons that resemble like 700 Club, Salem Baptist Church aesthetic.
That's so
dug.
accurate. Not that I never really watched much of them. Again, Catholic, not Baptist, but or at least grew up, no longer. But yeah, it's that stuff is still such a style, such a mood.
It is
such a thing in and of itself, and they nailed it.
There's a church program that it's actually I think it's still on TV. You know what? I should have put this in my review. I should have linked it even too. It reminded me a lot, and nobody's gonna know what I'm talking about. It reminds me a lot of Pastor Willie Townsend's show. He's a pastor in Calumet City, Illinois. He does a show. He runs the Word Evangelistic Church, and he has a show on every morning on My 50 Chicago at 5:30 in the morning. Those I never made the connection until just thinking of it now. It's the same aesthetic of him and Lee Curtis Child's old sermons and such. Nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about, but I know what I'm talking about. Joe,
it's.
What were you going to add there, Joe? I don't want to interrupt.
No, I was going to say too. The other thing too is that whenever it cuts from the documentary to real life, the documentary has like a filter on that's like bright and everything. Like you know, it's dumb. And I kind of attribute that to, like, you know, the documentary is dumb, like, trying to, like, sell, like, you know, the fact that, like, yeah, we're doing fine, we're okay, like, they're lying and everything. But the minute the documentary turns off, man, that filter turns off, and the world is just gray, muddy, ugly, and everything. And it's like, oh, man, like, it really turns scenes, like, where Regina Hall is just trying to be positive, trying to, like, stay focused on, like, I want to get this church back on track, and then something will just come along the way and just knock over the house of cards that she is building up, trying to restore everything. And it's just like watching her and having that flip of the switch of the widescreen stuff that you were talking about, Steve, but then also that filter going off. It is just a crazy adjustment to just, oh God, what is happening? In a good way.
Regina Hall, I need to look over this year of movies, but she might be my leading. From what I've seen, I think she's like at least should be nominated for Best Actress because her performance in this is.
I would
stellar.
love if she was
top freaking notch. Man. She's so layered. She probably won't because I don't know. I don't know how well this will do among like the critics and and within the industry. Hopefully the Jordan Peele bump, but internally. But yeah, dude. Is freaking good. It is where she goes as a character, and her arc. It completes, but it's not satisfying to much anyone, least of all herself. And there is an apex to this that she literally wears on her face. That is like, God damn it, holy crap, dude! This is. What a roller coaster she has been through. Yeah. Oh my God.
She's really good.
She's been in the game for so long when it comes to acting that I would like just seeing her do roles like this lately. Because she was also in the Hate You Give, and I thought she was great in that as well. Like, just slowly seeing her like be in more and more dramatic roles, whether it be fully dramatic or something like this. It's like, man, I would love if you start taking this route with your career because she's owning it, man. And I loved her in the Scary Movie films where she played the character Brenda and everything. I've always loved her in comedies as well. But like something like this, it's like, oh man, I love when like comedic actors take this next step, like in like their like filmography and just do more roles like this. She's great. And Sterling K. Brown, like I said, he's great as well. But I'm kind of with Dom where it's like she kind of stole the show for me, man. Where it's like. Anytime she was on screen, I was excited to see what she was doing next. For God's sakes, I mean, the woman literally had to, like, put on this ridiculous makeup on in the last half of this movie. When not the last half, like the last third of this movie, where it gets really serious, and she's still selling it.
Yeah, she's so good here, through and through. I also one of my favorite Regina Hall performances too is the movie Support Your Girls. Support the Girls,
Support the
I think
Girls,
it is.
yeah.
Support the Girls. That's a great movie where she's like the mama bear to a lot of younger women who
Yep.
work at this Hooters-esque joint.
Wait a second. Yeah, I think I remember seeing this passed around because it's essentially like a Hooters. It's the Hooters.
It's really
movie,
good, and Haley Lou Richardson's in that.
but it's like it's not like exploitative as the actual Hooters.
No, it's like these women are people too. Like
Right.
it's really good, that movie. Support the Girls, and she was also in Girls Trip too, which I know is more of a broad comedy, but she loans gravity to a lot of things, and Hall is the emotional anchor of this movie through and through. Although I will say that Sterling K. Brown was probably a pastor in another life, the way he carries himself in this, because he is let me say this, he's magnetic when he's in like the pulpit and he's trying to get like his preaching legs back under him. He's magnetic in a phony way that's really, really captivating.
So self-deluded. He's fooling himself. He's the best liars fool themselves, and there's so many layers to him as well. I'm gonna keep saying fascinating over and over because goddamn, his intensity is so damn good. And there is the scene where he's being intense with someone one-on-one, and it's like, oh shit, where is this gonna go?
Yeah.
That you're uncomfortable. You're so uncomfortable.
You know what scene got me to laugh? Because again, this is my second time seeing it. You know what scene really got, and I don't think anybody else laughed in the theater at this particular scene as hard as I did, is in the early scene in the movie when they first start shooting the documentary rather, is when they're in the closet, that obnoxious $1 million closet, and Regina Hall's like showing him the clothes, and she's like, "You got the purple product. We got the periwinkle product." I lost my shit at that. Like, that periwinkle product does look pretty good, though. I'm not gonna lie on that. But man, the comic. This is the thing about this movie that I also appreciated, although I do think it might be to a little bit of its detriment, is that the movie doesn't go for the big belly laughs.
Yes.
It kind of goes for like the chuckles and the grins, which is kind of a risky, unusual game for a comedy to play. But because it's a mockumentary and there's a degree of naturalism here, I like the fact that it went for a lot of like smaller laughs. Like again, the Nuck If You Buck scene, the rap scene, the Prada scene, the fountain scene, some of these awkward like little moments of like when he steps in gum was another great scene too. It goes for a lot of the smaller nuanced laughs. It doesn't really go for the big laugh here. I don't know how we feel about that as a whole. Did you guys find this movie effective enough as a comedy? That would be my next question.
That was probably actually the only thing that was really getting to me, is that there were just long periods I wasn't laughing. And like I'm invested in the story, of course. I'm invested in what the scandal is and everything. That's what was keeping me going. But like, to start out so strong, where like, it's like you have like the gum scene at the very beginning, you have all this other stuff. And, like, it's actually like, to me, after the Nuck for Your Buck, like, rap that they do, it was like right after that I was like, oh man, there's just a low point of just like not really any jokes being made here anymore. And it starts to come back up and everything towards the end of the movie, and then you have like a very like very intense scene that Don was talking about that I thought was like perfectly like placed as well. But that was like the only issue I really had, is that for a movie that like I'm like, oh, it is a comedy, but like I wasn't really laughing too much, or I didn't get big belly laughs out of this. I got good chuckles. I loved watching the two main characters interact with one another. That always put like a grin on my face, like them trying to weasel their way into finding a way to get their church back on top. But yeah, nothing really big or breaking that I've seen in other mockumentary style like filmmaking done like this, where it's like they find like a clever way. It's like, hey, we understand like this is supposed to like be a documentary in the world that this is taking place in, but we could find a way to do big belly laughs.
Yeah, I was actually laughing out loud in the theater because one, I was by myself, so I wasn't like afraid to. But also like the movie does take risks with its pacing.
It does.
And it's big, and it's big, and it's bold, and with those risks, it's a risk for a reason. And yeah, it does. I believe it does lose its way as well. I can't quite pinpoint it myself. Maybe it is after that rap scene. It's just so good.
It is.
But I freaking love that rap scene because Sterling, Pastor Childs goes into it. Pastor Childs. And then you're thinking like, oh, she's just gonna get annoyed, and then she just starts doing it. And it's like, is this like some weird indirect therapy that won't work? It works short term, but not long term. And like, it was damn. That was it delivers more of that as opposed to, the more cheap Medea-esque, laughs that you would, expect out of those kinds of movies. This is not those kinds of movies. This is definitely steps and leaps above. But in that way, it does. Yeah, you're right. Now, again, going back to that scene, that intense one-on-one scene with Pastor Childs, and it's like, what the hell is he gonna do? It was super uncomfortable. Is it supposed to be a comedy where 100% the whole time? Not necessarily. But even then, there's still some weird pacing that, again, it's hard. That's totally nebulous of me to say, but I think we all kind of feel it. Steve, would you agree?
I tend to agree here. I think that this is a lot for a directorial debut to like bite off in so many words. Yeah. I think more often than not it's successful. But I also think that this is the one thing too that I kind of saw when I first saw the movie is that like I'm not sure like to whom enough that I could guess it was me, but on the same thing, like it's almost like the hypnotic aspect of like the Schadenfreude aspect of like religious Schadenfreude and watching all this like empire of opulence and fakery come crashing down. Like that might be who it's targeting, but only so much. I think my big broader complaint as opposed to the pacing is that there's only so much that can be extracted from the child's like hoarding of suits and gaudy hats and all this stuff and this fame and this adulation. Only so much of that can be extracted. And I don't think the movie has really a second gear for what it wants to say come the third act.
I'm with that.
I think that would be my larger complaint here.
What's funny is that they never even get in trouble for the money. It's all the sex stuff, which is just a message in and of itself. But I would say, you got me thinking, I would say this movie is like an anti-Sorkin, because Aaron Sorkin makes movies for the people who eat that stuff up. This is not a Sorkin-esque movie. This movie, I believe, just purely by watching it, no insider information, no reading interviews, I believe this movie is meant to, it's a message directly aimed at the people it is criticizing. It is the congregants of those mega churches where the pastors have Lamborghinis and have, closets overstuffed full of, which would easily clothe all the homeless people in under the bridges in LA a million times over. Yeah. I think it's supposed to be a direct cannon shot at those people, at those congregants, not even the pastors, because they're so drunk off their money. I think it's meant to be at the congregants. I think is my assumption there. But yeah, it's hard. There's a reason why this only made $2 million. And that even with the boost from Jordan Peele, with Kaluuya, with
$3 tickets,
some of the more rally.
Yeah,
exactly. Even then, there are some strategic things with, competing with some other big movies, but still, I think it's because this is a scolding movie. It's scathing, 100% scathing. And I'm here for it. I think time will tell. I think time will tell very effectively that this is, not that I'm even part of that world, but I think that this is the movie that takes aim and swung and will probably get a little more than a little lambasted for it.
I guess we'll take the break here, and then we will come back, give our final thoughts and final ratings of Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. I do look forward to that.
Is there a countdown for you guys?
There is, yeah.
1 minute and 40 seconds.
Yeah, go. We can do that then. I'll tell you guys in the break room once we get in there.
Yep. Okay, no problem. We will take a quick break. Come on back, give our final thoughts on Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul, and then we will seg into the Dan Schneider's disgusting Nickelodeon empire. After that, you don't want to miss it. Back in about 60 to 90 seconds, you're listening to Sleepless with Steve. We are back, Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube on this Wednesday evening. I'm going to kind of swiftly wrap up our discussion of Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul, because we've got a massive story we have to tackle in the second half. We were joking earlier about how last week it was like Beast was such a short review for all of us because we all did not have a ton to say about it. We didn't dislike the movie, but we didn't have a ton to say in general. It was kind of funny. Like, this would have been the perfect week for Beast, given the gravity and the size of the other story that we have on our docket today. But moreover, though, I'll give some quick final thoughts just on Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. I thoroughly enjoyed the performances of this movie through and through. Sterling K. Brown and Regina Hall. I think even during some of the comedically dry spells that are in this movie, I think they elevate it just by their acting talents alone. They're clearly two seasoned actors that I think are able to effectively communicate the irony of these characters, and in Regina Hall's case, the emotional depth behind her character as well. I would love to piggyback off of Dom and just say, too, I would adore if she got an Oscar nomination for this. I don't see it happening. I don't know how big of a push this thing's going to have, but I would be completely here for that. I do think that all in all, there are the pacing issues, even though they might be there, they didn't bother me as much as the fact that I just think that the movie sometimes goes a little bit for the low hanging fruit here. And I don't quite know if it has a second gear in terms of like external relevance, especially when it comes to the climax about what larger point it wants to make. Having all said that, though, I really truthfully was never bored by this thing, and I was really grateful that I could see it in theaters too. And I hope it finds its audience in due time. So it's 3 out of 4 stars for me. What say you? What say you, Dom? I'll go to you first.
This is a compelling look into the world of African American ministries and just how crazy that world can be, and how dedicated and intense and sometimes downright insane looking outside, in this case, documentary style, looking outside in. And it's Hall and Brown, we're just going to flat out just heap praises on, and for good reason. It wouldn't even be fair to say that they carried this movie, because there's a lot going on here that the Ebo twins are doing so effectively, even if the script may have some weird pacing, or rather just its implementation for a good chunk of it, maybe in the middle, or 3/4 into the way. But whatever faults it has, it rebounds very, very well with that last fourth of the movie. And I'm really rooting for this movie to do well during award season, and I hope that it gets its due justice for what it's trying to say and what it's trying to do. 3.5 out of 4 stars. I really hope it's not quickly forgotten, because this is this is really fascinating looking at that world.
Totally agree. Joe, send us home on Honk for Jesus.
I'm just gonna also add in my recap here, or my review, I should say, my closing thoughts. Will have just some other criticisms I had, but that I couldn't focus on because I was making sure the stream, the health of the stream was still going.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
No, you're good. I was like, oh crap! Of course, my internet craps out during like a review in the middle of it. Anyways, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. It is a very well done movie. It's often funny, and it pokes at the hypocrisy that these mega churches have. I don't think it goes as far as it can with the hypocrisy that these things do. It very much looks at it on a surface level at times, and sometimes it does go deeper, sometimes it doesn't. It picks and chooses its fights throughout this movie or what it wants to do. But there's even a better movie here that I really wish they did explore, and that is with Regina Hall's character. Just watching her, being forced to just deal with her husband's like idiocracy and his choices that he's doing to put on this big show for their mega church and everything. Just watching her be the behind the scenes person trying to get this back on the road, back on top with their mega church, to me was even the better movie here that I wish we even got more time to look at. Overall though, I mean, I still think this is a great movie and two great performances and a great debut, directorial debut, I should say. For me, it is 3 out of 4 stars. I very much enjoyed it and highly recommend if you got Peacock Plus.
Cock Plus, as it's also known. Sorry, I had to. I hadn't made that joke in a while. I was afraid people forgot about it. All right, really glad you guys saw that movie, and I appreciate you putting up with me for the last 9 months or so, saying, "Oh, when this comes out, I'm keeping tabs on this. We're going to review this."
Saying
I don't mind it because I was always interested in it.
I'm keeping my wait till it, because they already said Sundance is going to be virtual next year, and now that I'll have more time to plan and schedule stuff, I'm going to number 1 blow a bag on rentals, number 2 just be insufferable. So I'm gonna see damn near everything, man. Your boy might take a couple days off of work.
Oh man, if Cooper Rafe is at this next festival, watch out.
Oh, the Thrasher! I am so hoping that the Thrashers is gonna be at Sundance this year.
He's gonna try and get into Sundance so that he can score a date with Cooper Rafe.
Oh God, you know that movie Win a Date with Tad Hamilton? Sign your boy up. I'm about to remake it. Anyway, so we have got a litany of things to discuss right now. This great article by Kate Taylor of Business Insider. It's called "Revealing Teen Costumes, On-Set Massages, and a Gender Discrimination Complaint Inside Dan Schneider's Disgusting Nickelodeon Empire." Disgusting being in quotation marks as well. This is available. First things first, this is an article that's available if you have Business Insider. If you don't subscribe to Business Insider, I would highly recommend getting the trial. Charges you $1. You can cancel it in a week. That's what I did. This article is absolutely worth $1. This article is absolutely worth $1. If for nothing else, if you've been tangentially following this story, and by following this story, I mean finding YouTube rabbit holes and Twitter threads for the last several years regarding Nickelodeon's Dan Schneider. If you've been like us in that way, and this story is one that you've kept your finger on for years, pay the $1 and do Kate Taylor some justice too, because she does some phenomenal reporting in here. This is something that clearly doesn't take a week to do. This takes months and months of leads and callbacks and rejections and whatnot. I can't stress enough about how great this piece is. As horrifying as a lot of it is, as unsettling as a lot of it is. I read it twice, and there's some excellent reporting going on over here, and it starts. I'm going to let Dom do the kind of lead us in the direction of where he wants to take us on this, but I just want to say, too, that the story this opens up with, or the episode that this opens up with, the shot from Zoe 101, I remember that shot. I don't know if you guys watched Zoe 101. I remember the shot. I remember the episode. And that same shot is in the season 4 theme song. That same shot is in when they're doing all the picture-in-picture montages during that same shot is in the theme song. It's in every single episode of season 4, technically. And just the vividness of what it opens up with is This is one of those one of those like couple articles you get a year that grabs you by your throat, and you're not going to stop reading it until you've hit the final paragraph. So I can't stress Taylor's reporting enough being phenomenal. That being said, I want to throw it over to you, Dom, because I'm tired of hearing myself talk. Kind of direct us on where you want to take this Dan Schneider story. The floor is yours.
Well, the story centers around the hour held by a showrunner, a producer, executive producer, creator, the creator, as mentioned in a certain memoir. But yeah, it is the story of the power that man holds, without a doubt. But surrounding it are so many other things, including the systemic enabling from which the studio allowed that man to continue to wield power, the many victims that maybe not necessarily a hard red line of illegal, sexual crimes, but very uncomfortable at the very least, very uncomfortable sexual, straddling of that line, certainly, the choice word there. And also, additionally, just overall abuse. Maybe not sexual abuse, but just abuse. Things that will largely be forgotten amongst all of the other more outlandish but strangely true stories, but also, or allegedly true stories, but also things that just get buried overall because people just don't think to shine a light on it, such as a 13-year-old actor, a 13-year-old, not just an actor, just a 13-year-old being made to cry in front of a boardroom full of very powerful studio execs, while Dan Schneider goes off on him. And it is so fascinating. Again, recycling that word from another movie about power dynamics. But my goodness, so fascinating how things get to this point, how people are allowed to do this, how people are, just kind of sideshows and made to spectate on this person's art, that an art that has so many other sacrifices around it. So I think let's start by with all that having been said, which really just understates how deep this rabbit hole really goes. Let's start with some of the more outlandish things and how it affects the stars that we know, folks like Ariana Grande, Miranda Cosgrove, and most of all, Jeanette McCurdy, and the woman that really is behind this latest wave, this in and out wave of the Dan Schneider saga that has dominated our millennial lives for decades now. I don't know which one of you wants to take it, but particularly, let's even just start with that opening story about Jamie Lynn Spears. Man, those Spears girl cannot catch a freaking break. Oh my god! You want to talk like the whole Free Britney thing? At least that had a happy ending. Jamie Lynn, where is justice for Jamie, man? All of this going on behind the scenes, child actors, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'll say I don't want to step on Joe's toes here because I do want to get his thoughts as well. But I mean, like, I still feel like Amanda Bynes is still like,
right.
We're still waiting for any kind of retroactive, like, and if she wants to be left alone, more power to her. But it's like, when's the collective culture going to come at like for her and be like what they just did for Britney? You know what I mean? Like what they just did for Britney. My heart, as somebody who was, again, and I've mentioned this way too much on the show, as somebody who is a diehard Zoe 101 fan, like that was my General Hospital growing up, was Zoe 101. That was all my children. That's
a good way to put it.
It was my General Hospital. Like I felt, even as a kid, when that show ended, and like due to the a lot of different things, but obviously Jamie Lynn Spears' pregnancy was such a huge thing at the time. I remember being 11 and 12 and like even thinking like just being devastated because she was getting dragged.
Yeah.
She was getting freaking dragged. Do you remember that? And social media ain't half as bad as what it is now. And then she had the kid, and then she broke up with that Casey Aldridge that was her boyfriend at the time. And like, and then all the headlines were like another effed up Spears kid. You know what I mean? I felt so bad for her in that whole saga. And then to have this open with that story from that particular episode and just the positioning of it, like that floored me all over again too. Just kind of reminding like the ringer that Jamie Lynn Spears went through in the wake of Zoe 101 ending. Joel, we'll get your thoughts on this beast of an article as well.
Man, look, I mean, just when you texted us, like, man, like after you get done reading it, it's gonna stay with you for a while. After I got done reading it, I was like, dude, like, if I go back and watch any episode of iCarly, Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, whatever it is, and I notice something, am I gonna be like I never watched Victorious, but I have like 4 girls,
a couple episodes.
I have 4 girls in my friend group that loved Victorious, and they've put on episodes of it when like we're just hanging out like on Netflix in the background or something. And there's times I turn and I look at the camera, and one of them is mentioned here with Ariana Grande near the end of the article, and I was just like, Dan Schneider, you're a weird dude, man. And like, you know, there are times, I mean, I'm just like watching that show, and it's just like, yeah, man, I mean, like, you know, I guess as a kid I just thought it was stupid and funny, but, you know, if I was like 13, 14, or even older when I started watching these shows, I probably would have thought, it's a little creepy to be like, you know, literally doing a cum shot with slime on Jamie Lynn Spears in this episode. I mean, there are so many times I was like reading this article, I'm like, oh shit, dude. I'm like, is this talk about a scene that I remember vividly? It's like, yeah, I'm thinking about like, you know, all the times I watched all those shows and whatnot. And one point in this article that I want to point out is it says many of the 15 former child actors who spoke with Insider maintain a warm relationship with Schneider, saying Dan cared about the kids on his show even when sometimes their own families unfortunately did not. He was the shoulder to cry on when something happened to them, and he understood what they were going through. And that only made me think, like, man, did Jeanette McCurdy go to him at times, and he just started taking advantage of that, leading to the uncomfortable alcohol situation that is also mentioned later in this article, where he forced her be like, come on, take a sip of alcohol, take a sip of whiskey. You know, the Victorious cast and crew does it all the time. Why don't you? And it's just hearing that he also like pitted shows against each other, like this was his own cinematic universe and he wanted to have his Dan Schneider Civil War. It's like, what the hell are you doing, man?
It clues you into the idea that, like, I mean, and like, number one, like the parents too are like so oblivious, like they want to get Schneider's attention just as much as the kids do.
Even in this article, they mentioned,
it shows you how he's cultivated. Go on.
I was gonna say, even in the article, they mentioned that, like, you know, crewmates or like producers would see parents, like if they saw Dan Schneider on the street or something, or if they just saw him passing by or whatever it was, they would literally shove their kid towards him just so they can get like a spotlight in the episode, be the extra that actually gets a line or something, or be the extra that gets a line, messes it up a few times, and is fired the same day. Like, Jesus Christ, that girl was 6 years old, Danny boy, what the hell?
In politics, we call that person a kingmaker. They are the important people that will make or break your child's career. For the record, I've always thought this, even as a kid. I'm like, it's like almost like immoral, in my opinion, to make your kid be a child actor, or like to even put you through that. I understand there needs to be child actors, or like, you know, a lot of them want to be actors, but man, there's such a high level of like abuse and like immorality that goes beyond all of that. I don't know, dude.
I even hope like nowadays with how,
you know what
like,
I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like back then as a kid, I also used to think the same thing too about, like, you know, child acting and whatnot. And then just like as we grow up and we see stories like Corey Feldman or even this, we're just like shit, dude. I mean, like, I pray to God because I love the show and I love watching it. Like whenever it comes out, I have a great time. But dear God, I hope those Stranger Things kids are having a good time and, you know, have a healthy relationship on set with her. It seems like they do.
Euphoria too.
Euphoria
is another one.
Yeah, Euphoria. I mean, like, all those people, I believe, are over the age of 18, but like still, those are young actors. They're still, just because you're over 18 doesn't mean like you're not like a child actor or a young actor. You can still deal with this kind of shit that Dan Schneider put people through at any age, but especially when you're younger.
I've long thought this. Euphoria and particularly Stranger Things, those how those kids wind up, not to put more pressure on them already, but really how those kids like wind up psychologically, or like their times on set, that will really be the metric. And other shows, of course, that will really be the metric of, have we progressed? Have we come out of the 70s and 80s where we just kicked kids to the curb, and just 90s and 2000s, and clearly Dan Schneider too. Have we learned? I don't know. But the thing is, I want to make a point here right off the bat, because I can hear these YouTube comments already. Not that anyone watches this, but I can hear the counter argument already. It's like, oh, you guys are Puritans. Yeah, these jokes are for adults. Oh yeah, sure. Ariana Grande's pouring water on herself. You guys can't take a joke or whatever. By the way, those are some weird webisode clips. You guys remember those old webisode clips?
I remember those. I didn't watch many of them, but those things were so bad. They were so weird
and creepy. It was like some visual creepy,
where they would draw like characters like faces on their toes and stuff. Yeah. That stuff. It wasn't even fun. It was like Dan Schneider's own fetish workshop.
See, Quentin Tarantino learned. It's like, just stick to the feet. Just do the feet thing. Don't do more stuff beyond that. I'm half joking. But Uma Thurman can tell you about some stuff regarding her neck and a car crash, about a microcosm of what Dan Schneider's doing to the umpth degree. But anyway, more on that later. We're not. But anyway, yeah, dude, we're not here to be puritanical. Like, yeah, sure. I'm not saying you can't, hit a kid with goo or whatever and not make an allusion to that joke. There's a context. What we're saying is that overall, and that's why you need to read this article, you need to pay for this article and read it. But putting it all together, it is a Frankenstein of a story. It's not of a story. It's a Frankenstein of like all these aspects coming together to make one big monster of a dude. Right? The abuse on set, the non-sexual stuff, the non-abuse, just demanding that his writers be there 24/7 or like be on call 24/7. The pitting of the actors, underage and overage, or particularly underage, pitting them against one another so that they can fight, for these roles. Firing kids, putting them in front of an executive board to cry, to think about what they've done, those stories, the parents, all these incredibly rabbit hole of a dynamics that just create an article like this. It creates a saga like Dan Schneider's that honestly, because he put out that tweet of him like, I've lost 100 pounds. I just sold a pilot. I can't say when, to who, he's still living it up. He's got his money. He's literally swinging on a hammock. He is self-deluded where he will never see this. Being a little editorial here, we're going to be editorial this whole time, but he's not going to look at any of this with any kind of regret. Regret that he got caught.
Why would
regret
he?
That
regret he got caught. But even then, the lynch mob is not coming for him. I think we all thought 4 years ago when we did this show on radio and did this very same segment at 1:00 in the morning on the goddamn radio.
We talked so much crap on campus about, this dude's about to get lit up on social media, and we were waiting and waiting for days and days, and nothing happened.
I remember telling my friend Amber at the time. I remember telling her in class, I was like, man, me and the boys, we gonna be talking about some shit tonight. You heard it here first. And it's like, man, it's funny, but it's not. It's funny, but it's not. I don't want to cut you off, Dom, because you were in the middle of a great point, but I had to chime in.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to say one thing on that. It's just that the reason why is because throughout all of this, even throughout all this excellent reporting, and I guess it's good, but the reason why he hasn't been Weinstein canceled, the big Weinstein canceling or the Cosby canceling, is because he hasn't crossed the big red line. Yeah. He has not committed a true sexual offense where he locked an actress in a room, drugged them, did something that can legally be traced back to him. At least not yet. I'm not rooting for it because, even if that never happens, then that means good. That means no one actually did cross that. No woman was a victim of this. That's good. I'm not rooting for that to happen. But that is, in my opinion, the big reason why is because there's no big crime that the California Justice Department can be like, okay, we can actually trace this and be like, yeah, you can't do that with an under 18-year-old. You can have them, reach under your shirt and give back rubs, which even Dan Schneider was like, that was too far. I was a little too close to the fire on that one. I'm sorry. But until a story like that, if a story like that comes out, I think this might be the height of it, because it's been a week now. Kate Taylor even released a second article, more or less, I think, just kind of recapping the first one on Business Insider. I think this might be the most traction it will get. We will see. We'll see if there's going to be a Hannibal Buress moment, which should have happened by now 10 times over. 100 times over, but there might be a Hannibal Buress moment where the internet just collectively goes, oh yeah, that was a thing, and then maybe more stuff will come out. We'll see. Well, actually, here's the thing. I think the Hannibal Buress moment was supposed to be Jeanette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, which I don't think any of us have read. If I don't have time for books, man. I'm an intellectual like that. I don't have time for the big words, but for real though, if I did have a book to read, it really would be that one, because, man, Schneider's Bakery, all those shows, all those moments, that is such a defining moment for the three of us and for so many millennials. And to see it tainted like this, it hurts, but the truth will come out, and I hope it does. Whatever happens there, it sounds like I'm closing out but we have so much more to talk about. I don't know where you guys want to take it from there, but.
I honestly think that was a really nice encapsulation. I don't know if we need to go too much longer on that. We're already technically bleeding into OT, but there are two things I'll bring up here, and then we'll let Joe close it out too. Because I mean, like I said, this entire article and its details, and this is why I'm kind of glad we're addressing sort of our reaction to the article. I don't want to go line by line of this thing either, because I want people to read this. I want people to pay the dollar and read the damn thing. It's a very good read. And that's why I printed it, so I can have it. You know what I mean? Like, it's every year a couple pieces of journalism come along, and it's like, whether it's sports or investigative or whatever, that I just want to like hold on to, and such. And this is one of them. There's two things. This one's not from the article; it's a tweet I saw, but it's a very good tweet from @ExposingRich, which is very, very fitting. Very good name. This is what she writes. It's pretty twisted how Dan Schneider would make TV shows aimed at the exact demographic that is still young enough to be easily influenced, but old enough that their parents likely don't monitor every single thing they watch. Woo! And I thought that was really well. Yep. That was very succinctly put. Again, demographic that is still young enough to be easily influenced, but old enough that their parents likely don't monitor every single thing they watch. They're out of the let's sit with the kid while he watches Sesame Street phase. They can kind of make their own TV decisions, and if it's on Nickelodeon, it's safe. I thought that was a very good tweet. The other thing that stuck out to me in this, and Jesus Christ, I would pay an obscene amount of money probably. I'd even probably lose a couple credit score points if I could get like a day on the set of this. And this is the paragraph. It's late in the piece. And it's kind of extracted from Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died. I'll read this paragraph from Kate Taylor's piece. She wrote, McCurdy wrote that the creator, the figure she constantly refers to in the book. McCurdy wrote that the creator was confined to a small cave-like room off to the side of the soundstage, surrounded by piles of cold cuts, his favorite snack, and Kids' Choice Awards blimps, his most cherished life accomplishment. And that came after sort of like an internal investigation. That was on Sam and Cat.
And that investigation, I was going to bring this up in my point. That should have been like the point where Nickelodeon was like, oh yeah, maybe this guy shouldn't be on shows anymore. But no, he went on to make 2 more shows.
Yep. Joe, you really touch on it, because as much of a story as this is about Dan Schneider and Dan Schneider's, victims of various kinds of abuse, the truth is this is also at the simultaneously
Nickelodeon.
An indictment of Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And really, it's a textbook case of a studio enabling the reviews. This is this is the child Weinstein, which is something you don't want to be known as. You don't want a story like that hanging over your head. But this really is the child version of Weinstein. Thankfully, no one, the abuse doesn't go all the way. But damn, it's really feeling like it will. Just from the vibes, and at the even if it doesn't happen, which I hope it doesn't. I want to reiterate that again. This is the environment where something like that easily could have happened. All it takes is for someone like Dan Schneider, with the environment he created, to be a little extra that day and just do the horrible, disgusting, dirty deed. And if it never happened, that is the environment you foster. That is the environment he fostered. That is the environment Robert Hicks, I believe, is Russell Hicks. Sorry, Russell Hicks helped to foster. Which I love how Kate Taylor writes into this. All Hicks said that they followed all code of conduct.
Every single thing that Dan ever did on any of his shows was carefully scrutinized and approved.
Yep. And of course he's going to say that. Of course he's going to say that. Doesn't change the fact that this is the environment. It doesn't matter what you write in the code of conduct. Doesn't matter, if you escape the law or, if you didn't break any laws. What matters is that you have victims of abuse, and you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Apparently to Russell Hicks, apparently to those executives that watched the kid cry, that is, it was worth it to them because they made a lot of money. They got a lot of awards, and they were able to get a lot of clout, and they got their viewers. But the question, I guess, to larger society is, how do we wrestle with this? Is there going to be some justice here? Is Schneider not making anything and not being approved for anything enough? Did cancel culture work this time? I don't think so.
What the hell's gonna come of that pilot, if anything?
Dude, if someone picks it up, if a studio picks it up, that might actually be the last wave, because no one should pick that up. Oh my god!
No, it's true. Like. And like the fact, like no network, this pilot's been apparently in the works this pilot was apparently picked up over a year ago in June in 2021. This was picked up a while back, and there hasn't been any news about it. This was the first time the pilot's been mentioned since the New York Times article. Since the New York Times article. So like, Dom's right. If in 6 months or something, it's reported that Hulu will now air Dan Schneider's picked up Dan Schneider's pilot. That will be another floodgate. That will be another floodgate. Nobody should touch it. Nobody should touch it.
It really
I don't know what it is. He said it was supposed to be darker and more mature. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't think the guy at this point needs another platform. He's got more money than he's going to know than him and his wife are going to know what to do with in 3 fucking lifetimes. He doesn't need another platform.
He doesn't care about the money. It's the power.
It's the power.
Totally the power. He will take it. He will take it, and he will find another cast of kids.
I'm not saying he wouldn't take it. I'm just saying he shouldn't be gifted it.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely.
He shouldn't be gifted it. But I'm really glad you guys read this story. I'm glad I could access it for one.
What's the name of the story and who's it by?
Oh, I will get that again. Let me do that again over here. Get more love to Kate Taylor over here, Business Insider. The story is called Revealing Teen Costumes, On-Set Massages, and a Gender Discrimination Complaint. Inside Dan Schneider's disgusting Nickelodeon empire. It's by Kate Taylor of Business Insider. I subscribe to Business Insider for a whole maybe half an hour to read the story, print it, and then cancel my subscription. But include in my cancel notes, and these two can attest to it. Include in my cancel notes to give Kate Taylor a raise for her exemplary reporting. And I hope that the due diligence is done on that, because she did some phenomenal work. This is probably my favorite long-form piece of journalism of the year right here. I would say so. And I just read a really good piece about Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll's breakup for the Seattle Seahawks. That would be second, but this is number one. In the entertainment world, hands down. Easily. This is like a defining piece of the year right here. Really I love it. I loved it as much as I hated reading a lot of it. As a reporting perspective, it's brilliant, and I'm really glad that we talked about it. for an upwards of a half an hour. That's our show today. A lofty show to say the very least. But I had a good time with my two good friends over here talking movies. Next week, we're all going to the World's Fair. I just came from the Minnesota State Fair a couple of weeks ago, so maybe I'll have something to draw on for this experience. But we're all going to the World's Fair, a new thriller now streaming on HBO Max. We will touch on that next week, and I will be reviewing Clerks 3. Clerks 3 comes to theaters on Tuesday. And we will see how I liked it. Rewatched Clerks 1 and 2 yesterday, and I regret to inform you both that I am still very much obsessed with the View Askew universe. I regret to inform both of you about that sad fact. But moreover, a couple good reviews next week, another great show in store. For Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, and yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve.